Hello, everybody. This is Dan Hoying from Agrarian Solutions, and I'm here with Dr. Larry Roth. And we're going to basically cover some calf products. There's been a lot of pushback, feedback from guys out in the field, select sires reps, seeing multiple products out there, wanting comparison to how it compares to Convert or Convert Gel, which, by the way, is 10% off January and February. So please take advantage of that. But I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Roth, and we're kind of going in depth and explain to you why certain products, certain ingredients are in our Convert and the advantages it does. And then we'll touch on a couple other products that we're seeing a lot out there and hopefully give you guys some ammunition to use and help your customers make sure they use the correct product. Dr. Roth?
All right. Thanks, Dan. Hey, I appreciate the opportunity to visit about the Convert Calf Gel today. And Dan, I've got a couple of slides to help make our points that we want to talk about. Dan, what I've got here on the screen is our secret sauce. Shall we say that in the Convert Calf Gel? First of all, we talk about some beneficial microorganisms, beneficial bacteria. Dan, when the calf enters the world, its digestive tract is sterile. There's nothing there, good or bad. But as soon as the calf comes into the world, that digestive tract is quickly populated by bad guys, E. coli, salmonella, the viruses that need only 10 minutes to double their numbers. In contrast, there are beneficial organisms, Phasium, Acidophilus, Bifido, that need 30 minutes to double their numbers. So Dan, we've got to get our beneficial microorganisms there as soon as possible to outcompete the bad guys and dominate and win the digestive tract. A unique aspect of the Convert Calf Gel is we have some of our cell wall deficient or L-form bacteria. There's no other product in the world for calves that has the cell wall deficient bacteria. So obviously that is a unique advantage to the calf gel.
Okay, Larry, two questions. First one I always get is why only 5 billion CFUs? And two, why L forms and what benefit does that have to the calves?
Okay, let's start with your first question. Why 5 billion microorganisms? You're right, Dan. There are a few products out there that'll have 10 billion, 20 billion. If we look at the labels of those products, and I'm thinking of a certain product that has 10 billion listed on its label for a 30 mil usage, that is a yeast product. Yeast have some advantages, I'll agree with that, but really we want the beneficial bacteria that's going to take up residence on the digestive tract lining. Yeast doesn't do that. Yeast will metabolize oxygen. There's a benefit. Yeast will also serve as a little bit of a magnet for some of the pathogens, but it's not nearly as beneficial as the microorganisms. Yeast also is very, very low price. So we can put in a whole bunch of yeast, make the label look like there's a lot of things there and not cost a lot of money. So we don't want to go down the yeast route. And then there are some products that, yes, dose for a calf will be 20 billion CFU, but that is, I'm thinking of a product that's based upon Bacillus subtilis, produces some enzymes, good product, but it's not what we want to get into these newborn calves or pre-weaning calves. And the 20 billion product also has the yeast. So think of those very high count products as filling up with, let's go ahead and say it, cheap organisms. Not going to benefit the calf, but it's sure nice label dressing. And then our cell wall deficient bacteria, we utilize a strain that enhances immune function. In the digestive tract, there are immunoreceptors. I like to think of them as radar sites that pick up certain organisms and take the immune system to a higher level of readiness. In other words, a faster response time to the pathogens. And then we also have a second strain of cell wall deficient bacteria that is known to produce lactic acid. Why would we want lactic acid in the newborn calf? When pH goes up in the digestive tract in the small intestine, let's say above 6.5, it favors the pathogens. They like a more alkaline, higher pH environment. The beneficial bacteria that promote the health of the calf like a lower pH, less than 6.5. So we're bringing in lactic acid bacteria in our beneficial microorganisms and in the L form or cell wall deficient bacteria. So let's bring in some organisms that are going to actually do what we want. That's take up residence on the digestive tract lining, help to control the digestive tract pH below what pathogens like. Now, one of the aspects that I really like about the Convert Calf Gel is we use these pathogen-focused proteins, or IgY. These are egg-based antibodies. Let's talk about that for just a moment. IgY. Well, Ig stands for immunoglobulins. Y happens to mean that it comes from egg yolk. So what's neat about this is we can vaccinate, immunize laying hens, and they will put the IgY, the immunoglobulins, the antibodies, or I like to call them pathogen-focused proteins, right into the egg yolk. Then we have a proprietary way of harvesting those pathogen-focused proteins, or IgY. So what? What's the big deal? Well, the IgY will be very specific for the type of pathogen that it will latch onto and help to destroy. Also, the IgY is going to be resistant to breakdown by protein digesting enzymes after the calf is 24 hours old. And Dan, I'm going to show you a competitive product here in a moment, and we'll compare the IgY pathogen-focused proteins from the calf gel versus the IgG from colostrum in some other products. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that right now. Tri-Shield First Defense, USDA registered product. We see quite a bit of it out there. But what are the advantages for the Convert Calf Gel versus Tri-Shield? Well, first of all, we've got our beneficial microorganisms. We got the Faecium, the Acidophilus, and the Longum. That's the bacteria that's going to attach the digestive tract lining. Think of it as inoculating the digestive tract to competitively exclude the pathogens. Also, these bacteria are going to produce the lactic acid that we need to stabilize digestive tract pH below what pathogens like to grow at. Hey, look over here at the Tri-Shield. Look at that column. No Faecium, no Acidophilus, no Longum, no yeast, nothing there. So Tri-Shield is not going to inoculate the digestive tract. That's an advantage for the Convert Calf Gel. And Dan, I've been focusing on the time that the calf is born. I think we should also talk about when the calf is a little bit older, if we need to treat the calf in conjunction with an antibiotic therapy or electrolyte therapy, or calf is being moved or goes through some challenging periods. These bacteria are also important at that time. If the calf is scouring, we might be losing some of these beneficial organisms. If we're using an antibiotic, the antibiotic is going to reduce the population of beneficial bacteria, and we need to re-inoculate, reintroduce the beneficial bacteria, and that's what the Convert Calf Gel can do. Tri-Shield, look at the label, only use it the day that the calf is born. Tri-Shield will do nothing to re-inoculate the digestive tract. Let me show you another slide that gets at our advantage. So here we have the IgY pathogen-focused proteins. Look at all of the IgY or pathogen-focused proteins we have from the Convert calf gel. 2 E. coli, K88 and K99, coronavirus, 2 variants of the rotavirus, Salmonella typhimurium and Salmonella dublin. And I should say that we also have cross-reactivity to 20-some other species of Salmonella. So Salmonella can be a tremendous calf killer in certain situations, and we need to introduce the pathogen-focused proteins to help control the Salmonella. And then how about this one? Cryptosporidium. Yes, we've got the IgY to help control crypto, and we also have the pathogen-focused proteins for Clostridium perfringens A and C. How about TriShield? Well, let's go look at the label for TriShield. Does not have any of the IgY pathogen-focused proteins, does not say anything about dried egg product. So we're bringing in the targeted IgY, the targeted pathogen-focused proteins, and these pathogen-focused proteins are going to be resistant to protein digesting enzymes. So TriShield, you only use it the day that the calf is born. If we had a 21-day-old calf that had salmonella issues and we went to use TriShield, the IgG in TriShield is going to get chopped up for nutrition by the calf's protein digesting enzymes. Whereas with Convert, we're using the IgY pathogen-focused proteins that are resistant to the calf's protein digesting enzymes. Let's look at TriShield. It has the IgG pathogen-focused proteins. That comes from colostrum. Vaccinate the cow against these organisms, harvest the IgG. What could go wrong with something like that? Well, the IgG is susceptible to the protein digesting enzymes, as I was just describing. So TriShield has IgG, and we can say that that's what they got on their label. That's what their USDA registration is for. K99, coronavirus, and rotavirus. So congratulations, TriShield has those 3 types of IgG, but who cares? Because once we get past that first day of the calf's life, those IgG are going to get chopped up by the protein digesting enzymes, and they're of no value. So here's key advantages for the Convert calf gel. Beneficial bacteria to inoculate the tract, the IgY pathogen-focused proteins to take out 10 different specific organisms, plus the cross-reactivity to another 20 different species of Salmonella. Let's
Larry,
look at, yes.
there's been a lot of comments that I get across the country saying when I have a sick calf, if I can keep eating through that sickness, I can keep that calf alive. And I think what you just said with our Convert and all those different bacteria, that's huge. Explain a little bit, even when they're having to use an antibiotic, say they have a pneumonia and they need to use some type of an antibiotic to get that calf over it. How does our Convert gel benefit that calf through that period as well?
Okay, excellent question. Antibiotics have their place. A calf that has respiratory issues or certain scour organisms, the bacteria, will benefit from injectable antibiotics, or maybe antibiotics with a dairy calf that happens to be on milk or milk replacer. So in those situations, the antibiotics are going to reduce the population of beneficial bacteria. We talk about antibiotic resistance in digestive tract bacteria. Unfortunately, the beneficial bacteria are not becoming antibiotic resistant. Those organisms that are becoming antibiotic resistant are the pathogens. And we need to replenish our good, beneficial, health promoting organisms after we use an antibiotic. So we're compatible. We complement antibiotic therapy. Use the antibiotics as recommended by the veterinarian, and then come in with the convert calf gel to re-inoculate the digestive tract to keep the beneficial bacteria present. So complementary to an antibiotic or electrolyte therapy. Good question. Hey, let's talk about storage conditions for a moment. The convert can be stored at room temperature, meaning, we could go down 30 degrees Fahrenheit or even cooler, and we can go to a higher temperature, say like 100 degrees in the summertime, and our organisms are going to stay alive. We don't have to be refrigerated. There's some benefits from it, but don't have to be. If we go look at the Tri-Shield label, we see that that product is supposed to be refrigerated, not stored at room temp, but refrigerated. So we need to be thinking about user practicality, the logistics, all of those types of things come into play. And I think that is another advantage to the Convert calf gel over the Tri-Shield. Dan, let's talk about pricing for a moment. When we look at the Tri-Shield product, we will often see prices as high as $15, $17 per usage or per calf. When we look at the Convert calf gel, we have it available in the 60 cc multi-dose tube. And if we were to use 15 cc of the Convert calf gel, what would that cost a calf raiser?
Larry, when it's a regular priced, you're looking at $4.25, $4.50. Being 10% off, you're knocking that down to three and a quarter, three and a half. So about $3.25 for a 15 cc dose. A question I got for you, Larry, is with Tri-Shield. So really, they're pretty much handcuffed. You only be able to use that at day one, along with the colostrum. Then after that, it's not any benefit, and there's no coming back with it when you're using an antibiotic or anything like that.
Absolutely. Tri-Shield can only be used the day of birth. Why do we see Tri-Shield used? I think it comes back to IgG, the colostrum-based antibodies. We know that colostrum is important, and so it kind of piggybacks on that philosophy. But Dan, I would rather come here with the IgY, pathogen-focused proteins. Look at the wide range of organisms that we can provide protection against, and we're going to be able to be provided to the calf at any day of age. These pathogen-focused proteins, the IgY, are resistant to the protein digesting enzymes.
It's funny,
Dan,
Larry, you were talking about room temperature right there. And there's a product that's been making the rounds on social media and getting a lot of advertising. And one of the things at the bottom, it says it needs to be used at 70 degrees or above. And as we know, there's a lot of calves being born in lots colder environment than that.
Yeah. So when I see that on the label, apply this paste or administer the paste at, I believe it's 70 or 75 degrees Fahrenheit or above, it tells me that that is a very stiff paste. And in some of these environments, it's going to be a long time until we see 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's emphasize the practicality and the logistics of the Convert calf gel. It can be stored at room temp, gives us that broad range, and does not have to be refrigerated. And we can use it at whatever temperature because we do have the flowability at cool temperatures, but also do not become runny at high temps. Dan, let's compare the Convert calf gel to everything else out there. So here's how I compare the Convert calf gel. I look at what beneficial microorganisms we have, the facium, the acidophilus, the longum, and we have a little bit of yeast. And then I look at everything else. What do they have? Do they have beneficial bacteria to inoculate the digestive tract and stabilize digestive tract pH or not? Dan, you mentioned a product a little bit ago that has yeast in it. Um, Yeast has its place, but it's not going to be that effective at competitive exclusion. Yeast does not produce lactic acid to stabilize digestive tract pH. So this is the first thing that I look at on the label. Does the competitor have the beneficial bacteria? What are they based on? Second item I look at, does the product have dried egg product? That is the source of the IgY pathogen-focused proteins. I think this is a very key advantage to the Convert Calf Gel. Again, we provide targeted protection against 10 specific microorganisms. And remember the crypto that we have protection against, plus 20 different species of salmonella, cross-reactivity to salmonella besides the Typhimurium and Dublin. A very key advantage. And since we're using the IgY, which is resistant to protein digesting enzymes, we can use the Convert Calf Gel at any age of calf. Yes, it can be given at birth, given at day 21, 42, at weaning, and beyond. So
Larry,
beneficial bacteria, and then I look to see if the competitor has dried egg product. Yes, Dan.
Larry, while we're on this slide and talking about everything else, there's two products that I've been around a long time. Pace Plus, Priority One are two different type calf gels that made the rounds. I've always heard the shelf life is not very long, and for the most part, there is no IgY antibodies in there. Can you explain what's different about those two products versus our Convert?
Well, I think, Dan, you just mentioned the big difference. We've got the IgY, pathogen-focused proteins. The dried egg product is what you're going to see on the list of ingredients. Beneficial bacteria is important. That's what those competitors you mentioned have. But we need to come in here with the IgY to target, like a heat-seeking missile, these different organisms. Take those organisms out, no matter the age of the calf. We were talking earlier about antibiotics and how the Convert Calf Gel complements antibiotic usage. Yes, antibiotics can reduce the survivability, the numbers of our facium, our acidophilus, and bifidobacteria. But guess what? The antibiotics have absolutely no impact on the IgY pathogen-focused proteins. So that is part of the reason that we're compatible with the antibiotic treatment. IgY, pathogen-focused proteins, take out like a heat-seeking missile these different pathogens here. A very key advantage. And then when I'm comparing labels with competitors, I look for dried colostrum on the label. And if I see dried colostrum, I know that I'm competing against an IgG product. Okay? What's the problem with IgG? They're susceptible to protein digesting enzymes. When I see a competitor product with dried colostrum, I know that is a product that can only be used the day of birth, cannot be used thereafter. So Dan, on a farm or a ranch, there's already 1,000 moving parts. We don't want to make things complicated. Let's go with one product to give to the calves, the Convert Calf Gel. Use it at birth, use it at any age of the calf. We don't have to have two products and be contemplating, well, is this at birth or is it later on? Convert Calf Gel gives the calf raiser extreme flexibility. So, Dan, those are some of our key advantages. Beneficial bacteria, the IgY pathogen-focused proteins, and our cell wall deficient bacteria.
Well, thank you, Larry. One thing I am going to offer to anybody watching this, and if you're a Select Sires co-op or employee, we will be happy if you can find a label, because we touched on just a few products. There's many more out there that are being made. And as we know, this is a prime time for calving season across, especially the northern part of the U.S. So if you find something, get us a label. Dr. Roth will be happy to analyze it and give you some feedback exactly how it compares to our convert. And that would be beneficial for you working with your producer. One thing to get him to spend money on a competing product, but when he has no success with it, now that's when you really need to have that integrity and trust with that producer to say, hey, no, convert, it's been around over 20 years. Why has it been around for 20 years? Because it works. So let's keep that in mind. And with that, I think we will thank you for attending and watching. And if you have any questions, reach out to one of us and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you all.